Murder on the Orient Express is a crime novel by Agatha Christie. Published in the United Kingdom in 1934, it features Belgian detective Hercule Poirot and is one of the best-known works by the English writer. Agatha Christie was born in Miller, England on 15 September 1890 and was a British writer and playwright. Considered to be one of the most influential and prolific writers of the 20th century, she was the author, in addition to an exorbitant number of short stories, plays, and romance novels written under the pseudonym Mary Westmacott, of 66 detective novels and 14 collections recounting the adventures of characters such as Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple, still successfully published worldwide, thanks to which she is, according to the UNESCO Index Translationum, the most translated British writer in the history of publishing, second only to William Shakespeare. The novel Murder on the Orient Express takes place on an elegant 1930s train, the Orient Express. Poirot, a Belgian detective, finds himself forced to investigate the murder of a man on the train, on which he himself is traveling. The victim is Samuel Edward Ratchet, a distinguished American with a passion for travel. An unforeseen weather event will mess up the murder's plan. A blizzard will cause the train to be blocked for a very long time. So Poirot will be forced to deduce that the murderer is one of the passengers whose compartment is in the carriage where Mr. Ratchet was. Thanks to some clues, he will learn that the victim's real name was Cassetti, an American kidnapper, and his murder was revenge for little Daisy Armstrong, an American girl killed years earlier by him. This will be the start of a series of interrogations over the passengers, from which initially no information useful to the case will be obtained. Moreover, the presence of an exaggerated number of clues will suggest an attempt to shift the blame onto certain people. This will be the beginning of a series of interrogations of all the passengers in the wagon, and hesitations, contradictions, and indicative slips of the tongue. It will emerge that more than one passenger had links with the Armstrong family, and that certain deceptions and the presence of so many clues are premeditated attempt to confuse and mislead the detective's investigations, and to direct his inquiries elsewhere. Only later will there be a series of twists and turns that lead to the solutions of the case. Poirot also notices that many of the clues found are only false clues, intended to throw off his investigation. Poirot finds two false clues placed at the crime scene only after the murder: Princess Dragomirov's handkerchief and Colonel Abernthau's pipe cleaner. A stopped watch is also found at the time of death, but Poirot is quite sure that the watch was placed there by the murderer to throw off the investigation. Among other clues, the uniform of a ticket inspector is also discovered. After several twists and turns, Poirot presents the other travelers with two possible solutions to the case. The first theory sees the murderer disguised as a railway employee entering Cassetti's compartment and killing him. A second, more complex hypothesis sees as many as 12 people who have concocted this plan to avenge little Daisy Armstrong, to whom they were all attached. Also in Ratchet's room, in addition to the handkerchief with an embroidered H, Poirot and his two companions found a pipe cleaner. During the depositions, Poirot very cleverly asked the passengers if they smoked a pipe. All of them apparently smoked cigarettes, except for the Colonel Habernow, who said without any problem that he smoked a pipe and that the pipe cleaner probably belonged to him. Both the handkerchief and the pipe cleaner had only been placed in Ratchet's compartment after the murder. In fact, the conspirators, blocked by the snow, had placed the two clues to throw off the investigation. This was because, thanks to these two objects, suspicion was falling on Colonel Arparno and Princess Dragomirov, those most unsuspected, with the strongest and most meticulous alibi, and the two who seemed to have no connection with the Armstrongs. The conclusion is that Mr. Cassetti was hit by 12 stab wounds, each vibrated by a different person. So the culprit is not just one, but it was 12 different people who had deliberately arranged the train to carry out a revenge for the death of little Daisy, to whom all the suspects were deeply attached. The book ends with Monsieur Buck and Dr. Constantine deciding not to hand over all the passengers to the Yugoslavian police, but to place the blame for the murder on an unknown person, as in Poirot's first solution, believing that a verdict had been passed by a jury composed of all these connected to the Armstrong family, and that justice had been done after so many years. Written during a stay by Christie in Istanbul in the summer of 1933, the novel was serialized by the U.S. weekly The Saturday Evening Post and was printed as a book the following year by the British publisher Collins Crime Club. Two famous film versions have been made from the novel, one in 1974, directed by Sidney Lumet, and the more recent in 2017, directed by Kenneth Branagh. The latter is only a movie adaptation of Agatha Christie's best-selling novel, as there are multiple differences between the novel and the 2017 film. Kenneth Branagh not only directed the movie, but also lent his face to Hercule Poirot. The movie, unlike the book, seems to focus on the morality of human beings, in a crescendo of contrast between the feeling of revenge and the search for inner peace. It highlights the tragedy people face when they lose someone they care about, criticizes revenge, and reflects on the search for inner peace. We must forget the book. We can consider this movie as a free interpretation. Characters and narrative are twisted. Among the many differences, we find the Swedish character Olson becomes Spanish. He is called Estravados and is played by Penelope Cruz. The character of the Greek doctor who in the novel helps Poirot in the investigations disappears, and Mr. Buck becomes the only helper. Princess Dragomirov, played by Judi Dench, becomes a haughty lady used to being in charge, rather than a feeble old noblewoman. The characters of Miss Dobena are useful in allowing Poirot to confront the case, and Mr. Ratchet, played by Johnny Depp, seems to want to seduce Mrs. Hubbard, Michelle Pfeiffer. As far as the narrative is concerned, we discover that Poirot has a personal motivation for wanting to solve the case, which is totally fictional compared to the novel. Of pure fantasy is the moment when someone stabs Mrs. Hubbard, or when Haberno attacks Poirot. In the 2017 film, we also find an artistic reference. The scene of the resolution of the mystery, set in a gallery, figuratively almost reminds of one of Leonardo da Vinci's paintings, The Last Supper, with all the characters lined up along a table, but it does not have the same intensity as in the 1974 movies. Indeed, there are additions, such as Mrs. Hubbard's almost exasperating and unnecessary suicide. According to critics and viewers, the 2070 film has added an unnecessary content and stories that do not do justice to Agatha Christie's work, and does not come close to the intensity of the 1974 film, that is almost perfectly faithful to the masterpiece of detective literature. Despite the criticism, the sequel Murder on the Nile, inspired by the novel of the same name, and remake of the 1978 movie was released.